Hey guys, it's Alyssa, and I am here with my weekly What I Sold on Etsy video. Christmas shopping season is in full swing, so I did pretty well this week with the stuff I sold on Etsy. This week I sold exactly 20 items on Etsy and exceeded my selling goal of $200. I actually sold $324 worth of stuff, so I'm very happy with that. And I'm going to go ahead and show you each of the different items that sold and how much they sold for. First item I sold this week was this backgammon set. It's a smaller travel backgammon set. I sold it for $30. Kind of different, it's corduroy, if you can see that on the playing surface, also the outside the case, which you can't see in this picture. But it was a complete vintage set. And I think I picked this one up at a thrift store, but don't quote me on that. I sold this vintage metal mailbox. It's like a wall mount mailbox for $45. Pretty worn condition. You can see in this picture how the metal's all worn around the edges. So this is an older mailbox, and it definitely spent some time attached to the outside of a building. This is something that I picked up at an auction not too long ago. And this also came from an auction. It's a smaller souvenir pennant, like a mini one. It sold for $10. As you can see, it's sort of folded over, but it does have a date on it. So this one's from the 1940s and from Franconia Notch, New Hampshire. And this is a vintage photo album. I think this one was sized for holding vintage Polaroid pictures. It sold for $12. It does have a little bit of wear on the outside. Kind of different, has that photo illustration on the cover. I think that was like a Paris street scene. Anyway, I picked this album up, I believe, at a thrift store outlet, so a weigh and pay outlet. And I sold some postcards this week. This one sold for $6. It is a vintage unused postcard from Italy, from Florence. I think this is the Uffizi Gallery. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, kind of cool sepia toned photo illustration on the front and then blank on the back. This is a vintage and kitschy plastic Christmas decoration with Santa on a sleigh there with some white reindeer pulling the sleigh. Sold for $15, and this is something I picked up in a box lot at an auction. And this vintage milk bottle also came from an auction. This is a half-pint sized bottle. It sold for $10, and I think it was Willowbrook Dairy in New York. So yeah, I picked it up with a bunch of other milk bottles at an auction not too long ago. And I think this vintage calendar tea towel from 1980 also came from an auction. I'm not sure. I might have picked this up somewhere else. But this one sold for $8. And I picked up this vintage tray at a rummage sale not too long ago. It sold for $20. This is a Keurig, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, brand tray. I've sold a few of these in the past. So I think I have another one listed for sale. It's a plastic tray, but then inlay in the plastic is different pieces of wood and metal to make, in this case, this fish hut design on the front. And this is a vintage rack rummy set in a like leatherette case, like a backgammon set. Sold for $40. Now this set was not totally complete. I went through and counted the pieces, and I think there was like 1 or 2 pieces that were actually missing from the set. So if it was fully complete, it probably would have been worth a little bit more. And I don't remember where I picked this up. I think this might have come from a thrift store. And then I sold this little box for $10. I described it as a pill box. I'm not sure what else it could be used for. It's very small. It's made of metal with a hinged lid, and then you have that plastic coral colored piece on the top there. And I picked this up at an auction not too long ago. And then this umbrella, on the other hand, I've had for a long time. I picked it up at a rummage sale. Sold this for $12. And plus shipping. So the shipping was actually kind of high for this item because it's not easy to ship an umbrella. I used one of those long priority mail, like triangular shaped boxes to ship it, and it was going to Florida, which wasn't too far away. Sold this vintage box of greeting cards. I sold this set for $7. Now there were 10 cards in the box, so that doesn't seem like much money, but these cards and the box itself was in very worn condition. So these weren't, I mean, they were all unused, but they definitely had some like fading and some stains on them. And here's another one of the postcards I sold this week. This is a linen postcard from St. Petersburg, Florida, with this banyan tree illustration. It sold for $6, and it's in unused condition. I don't remember where I picked this up. This might have been from a thrift store. I sold this vintage pipe holder or pipe rack for $20. This is something I picked up at a rummage sale not too long ago, and it's got space there for holding 6 different pipes. I sold this vintage newspaper. It's an edition of the Eastern Express Times. I forget what the date was on it. I think it might have been 1950s, 1960s. Sold it for $10. Now, this is something I got in auction. I didn't actually buy it specifically. It happened to be in a box of stuff that I bought, and I was like, I might be able to sell this, and so I did sell it. I'm not sure what the person was buying it for. Maybe somebody was born on that day or a special occasion occurred on that day. It was interesting as it seemed to be a pretty morbid day. I mean, you saw the headline there about the earthquake, and then there was all kinds of like murders and violent things happening. So we think we live in horrible times right now, but things were pretty bad back then too, at least apparently on this day. And finally, the third postcard I sold this week. This one sold for $8. You can see it's a pretty cute illustration there. The artist was on here, Lon something or other. I can't remember his name. Sorry, Lon. But I did look him up. He was a Western artist painting different Western scenes, and this too is a blank, unused postcard. And this is a vintage Christmas ornament. I described him as Jack Frost. I really don't know who he is, but he's plastic and covered with glittery snow there. It sold for $5, and something I picked up at a garage sale in the fall. And I believe these cups and divided plates also came from a garage sale. I sold this set for $20. There were 6 plates and 6 cups in 4 different colors. And I think the maker on this was Sterilite. Definitely one of these plastics companies that was big, I guess maybe in the 1950s, 1960s, when this stuff kind of was pretty popular. And finally this week, I sold this pretty cool lot of vintage or antique keys for $30. This was a lot of 13 different keys, and I picked these up at an auction. I think they might have been from 2 different lots at an auction, actually last fall, so I've had these over a year. So I do put out these videos every week showing the different vintage items I've sold in my Etsy shop, Planet Alissa, and try to get out other helpful videos on selling online and selling on Etsy when I get a chance. I have been pretty busy lately. I do have a car again, so that's good. I also have car payments, so I wasn't quite planning on that just yet, but that's how things go. So I got to get cracking and sell some more stuff online to make those payments. But yeah, things are going good here. I'm really just playing catch up now and trying to get caught up on stuff because it was like 2 lost weeks there with all the craziness going on with the car and stuff. But things are finally getting back to normal. So I hope you are all doing well and selling lots of stuff online. I'll see you again next week with one of my What I Sold videos. And it's a text message, probably from my landlord because we're going back and forth just talking about the insurance stuff. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, hope your week is going well, that you're selling lots of stuff, enjoying this holiday shopping season. And yeah, I'll see you again next week with another one of these videos, and probably before then I'll get some videos out to you. So yeah, happy selling, everyone!